thing I'd like to say about trucks is they're very hard to use and very inefficient, and even with all the things that I've done to make them work, it's still very limited how I use them, and it's not 100% reliable. There still is a certain potential for some actual problems. If you watched my train explanation video, I covered some problems that could happen but weren't system breaking. Unfortunately, trucks have a system breaking potential. It's not very large, but it is there. If the two trucks collide and they don't automatically recoup before they run out of gas, they will become forever stuck until you bring them some fuel. Now, in this current truck system with the 13 trucks, I've never had that happen. Mostly, it's not really a problem, so I've got it working, but I'm very careful. In fact, I think this 13 trucks will probably never add more. We'll continue adding to the factory. We'll have many more trains and belts and tubes and foundations, but this is probably the last of the trucks. These 13 trucks will be the only 13 that ever exist, and everything else will just be done with trains. But here's one of the fuel stations. One of the 3, I believe there are. 4 if you include the pickup. And basically, this is how it works. The fuel truck will come down the highway, pull off to the right, and drop off a whole lot of fuel. This fuel exits the truck station and enters several others. One of them being this truck station right here. Now you notice this truck station's placed further up. It's actually right on the edge of the road here. The trucks won't actually run into it. They follow this line, like right down the middle. But it does automatically refuel them as they come by. So I have a few of these stations scattered around, and they're strategically placed in certain locations so that every truck receives fuel before it gets under halfway empty. So I've got a total of 3 big fuel stations distributing to about 2 to 3 sub fuel stations each. And I just travel the fuel right beneath the highway itself. Which brings us to the point of the highway. All of the trucks follow on the highway, and the highway goes everywhere around the factory. Very similar to how the train track does. It's 5 foundation wide, just like the train track. And basically, it's, again, just like the train track, 1 lane going in each direction. And I use the seam between 2 of the foundations as the lane. This keeps the truck a little bit away from the edge, so you're not worried about it falling over, while still giving a whole entire empty foundation in the middle between the lanes of opposing traffic, so there's a lower chance of a head-on collision. This works really well and actually makes the trucks really easy to program. You gotta watch out for ramps and turns. Specifically with the turns, to make a turn, to follow this line with a truck, you've got to make sure that when you're recording, you do not exceed 20 to 30 kilometers an hour. The slower you take that turn, the better it's going to come out in the recording. If you go 40 kilometers an hour or over, the truck will come down there so fast, it'll miss its waypoint and try to do a whole entire 360 or smash into a wall, all kinds of nonsense. This will be kind of a cool example. I don't know if this truck's gonna fail or not. It's hard to say. It depends on the recording. And it succeeded. Look at that. Oh, and here comes another one. And it did its corner too. So you got to be really, really, really careful recording these things and see how close we come to collisions. That was lucky. That was very lucky, but you don't always get so lucky, so you gotta do your corners slow, but your straights fast. And you've gotta try to plan your highway so there's no conflicting traffic. This maneuver we saw here was non-ideal. There is a big chance of conflicting traffic there. You'll see we have a completely secondary highway to this one. This was to divert some traffic, so this ends up being less busy. Too many more trucks on this section, and the chance for collision would be so high it wouldn't work very well. This is what I was talking about with the limitations to the truck system at the beginning there. And yeah, there's not much more to say about trucks. 5-wide highway, take the corners slow. The refueling station system's pretty cool. See, this is a truck that I recorded. He was too fast, so he ran into that, got a bit stuck. He corrected himself and it's all right, but if there was a truck right behind him, oh boy. I could probably push this out a block further, and he'd probably just arc out a bit and then straighten it out and keep going. And that would help, but that's just, you know, little detail. The big forgiving part of the trucks, and probably the reason the whole system works, and this is a great bit to know, once the trucks get into the distance, you can see they start teleport moving, and once they get completely far away out of view, they stop existing at all. So their chance for collision is 0. You'll be able to see trucks on the map, like, go right over each other, occupying the same space, and they won't crash because they're not really there if you're not there. So as soon as you get about 400 to 600 meters away from a truck, even if it's upside down in the sand, it will just automatically reposition itself on its route and keep driving. As long as it's got fuel, it will never stop if you leave the area. So when you see trucks going bad, just walk away, and as long as it's got fuel, you're all good to go. There's a big forgiving mechanic in the trucks. But then see, on the flip side, if you're not paying attention, one of your trucks is flipped over and you don't notice, and it stays there and runs out of fuel, you leave, it'll reset on the path, but it'll be out of fuel and it won't move. So that's kind of a problem with the trucks. But yeah, when it all goes wrong, just walk away. But yeah, hopefully that basically covers everything with the trucks there, and that's basically what it comes down to. I love using them for the low item transport. Like, I use them to transport computers and motors to our aluminum factory, using them to transport fuel, and I have some trucks doing a really short trip for steel beams and whatnot. I have a truck that's doing plastic. Funny enough, that truck is now assisted by a train. I have trucks doing high-speed connectors and AI limiters for supercomputers. For some of these small tasks, they work really well, because it'll never get to the point where I need so much of that stuff that a truck can't carry it. But something like plastic, bad use of a truck, because that truck has exceeded its capacity, ended up using a train anyways, so. They look really cool though, they look really cool, like the whole truck system and the trucks all together. They're very fun and very awesome. So, I like using them for that reason. And yeah, I really like that refueling system too. I'm glad you guys get a kick out of that. It's really neat. Cool. Yep, definitely. Turbo motors, supercomputers. That's train stuff, man. That's train stuff. 100%. Hey, appreciate that, Tiger. Appreciate that. You know, I do what I can with them. They do, like, we have a gunpowder truck and a coal truck for gunpowder, you know? Yeah, I was really determined to include them in the game, because they're a part of the game, and they're a damn cool part of the game, but they do have their issues, and I won't lie about that. I'll be a little bit of denial about some of it, but even I can only deny so much. Oh my god, it's cold down here. Woo. And yeah, it can be a lot of fun. If you look at our clips and stuff, you'll see a lot. Okay, here's just like a little overview so you can get like a grand overview of all the highways and just the scope of it. So, like, it's a lot of work too, right? Like, look at all the foundation and highways and stuff. But then again, look at the rails. They're almost just as extensive. But also, look at how much less materials the rails have taken compared to the highway. But, you know, I still love it. And I still am going to continue on with it. Like, when we go to build out to our uranium, even though we'll probably never ever have a truck out there. You bet your buttons that I'm going to be building a truck road out there. Every step of the way.